is where it happens. With a smile, a skillful touch, a thoughtful look, the morning rush, an evening stroll, out in the cold but always warm. We are the Frontline. Hear us. See how we work together. With Chromebooks in our hands, we'll be faster, more connected, and better informed. We'll keep going the distance, and we'll always have your back, because we are the Frontline.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon to learn how to turn your frontline workers into cloud workers with Chrome Enterprise. You'd be amazed at how long it took Leslie to train me how to do that sequence I just did. It took a bit. It's getting late in the day, but thanks again for taking the time. My name is Mike Daoust. I head up our Chrome Enterprise go-to-market team, and I have the privilege to kick things off today, and we'll walk you through some research that we've done around this frontline worker segment and some great understandings on how the cloud can help here, as well as Chrome Enterprise, and then walk you through some use cases with companies that we've worked with to date. And then I'll hand things over to Ravi, who leads up IT for Stitch Fix, a company that hopefully most of you have all heard and utilized, and he'll take you through real-life examples that he's encountered with his frontline workers in Chrome Enterprise. Hopefully we'll have time for questions. We got about 45 minutes. If you haven't been to any sessions and utilized the Dory, this is a capability. You can see the instructions here that if you have some thoughts as we go through the content and you want to submit a question, feel free to do that. And then if we have time at the end, we'll utilize this. We'll also take live questions here as well. So before we dive into the frontline worker, first I want to talk a little bit about the cloud worker. This is a narrative we kicked off actually this time last year, and it was a bunch of research we did across 1,400 ID decision makers and users with Forrester. And it was some really interesting research that really at the end of the day, to sum it up, it said everyone in their day-to-day lives, their personal lives, is operating in the cloud. They leverage content, they leverage applications, no matter what location in their personal lives, whether it's Netflix and Spotify, whether it's getting to work using Google Maps with Uber and Lyft. They're used to having information applications at their fingertips to make their day truly efficient. And they've taken that same expectation into enterprises and handed that problem, so to speak, to many of you in the room here today. And but what was interesting about the research at the time is last year, basically it found that about a quarter of the folks within any organization, small, medium, or large, are cloud workers. They're ready. They're ready to adopt the cloud. Their expectations are there, and the excitement and the opportunities there. And it's only grown as more workloads move to the cloud, as the SaaS sort of steam train continues to triple year-on-year growth. This is becoming more and more a reality. And really, it's something that we see as a tremendous opportunity for this frontline worker segment. At the end of the day, I think in the old world, you know, how you worked or what your job category was sort of determined what you needed on a day-to-day basis. And the reality is now it's not really where you work, but how you work and what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And anyone can fundamentally be a cloud worker today, whether they traditionally are an information worker, whether they're out in the field, in the back office, they can be a cloud worker. But what's interesting is that the segment that often gets forgotten, and I'll walk through this a little bit, is this frontline worker in terms of taking the cloud to them so that they can be more effective and efficient in driving the organization's strategy. Who are these frontline workers? Interestingly enough, it's about 80% of the workforce. These are these deskless workers that aren't like some of us sort of chained to a desk. They're cashiers, they're call center agents, they're project managers that could be on construction sites, they're nurses, they're EMTs. They're out there in the field working hand in hand, selling products, supporting products and services, and are very much the face and the backbone of any company or most companies that are out there today. They directly impact the CX or the customer experience. And this customer experience has huge top line and bottom line impact. As you can see here from the Gartner study, 90% of companies compete primarily based on customer experience, and you can see the Harvard Business Review sort of backs that up with, people that have had a positive past purchase will spend 140% more on their next one. And I think we can all relate to that. I way back when I was in the restaurant business and was a frontline, bartender, waiter, what have you, or worked in the hotel business, I had managers that always said, if a customer has a bad experience, they're probably going to tell 5 to 10 more people than they would if they had a good one. So this has both a positive and negative impact, and executives in companies are seeing this and measuring the performance of this. However, the same token, these same leaders feel like the investment isn't there in these frontline workers, not giving them the tools they need to really elevate and meet the needs of this customer experience. And you can see it here in terms of the frontline worker managers themselves and those actual workers. 75% of them feel like they don't have consistent communication to really carry the message, both from a compliance standpoint and a strategy standpoint, to their customers to do their day-to-day job. So it's a huge, missed opportunity in many ways. And again, it's interestingly enough validated by both the leaders within these organizations as well as the frontline worker managers and their users. We actually did some surveying ourselves to sort of test this out as well, and asked both information workers and frontline workers what kind of effect technology has had in terms of a positive effect over the past 5 years, sorry. Information workers, 70% felt like it had a positive impact. Frontline workers, 1 out of every 2 said it had a positive impact. So think about that for a minute. There has been a lot of positive technical changes in the marketplace, but still only 1 out of every 2 frontline workers actually feel like it helped their experience to do their job better, right? So huge missed opportunity here. But what does it all mean? What does it result in? Why should you care at the end of the day is that, if you have disengagement here, and you can see here, if you have pessimism within this frontline worker base, and you can see the statistics here back in 2016, there's a 65% turnover rate within these frontline workers. And underneath this is if you take, a semi-average hourly employee, they make $30,000 a year. Research shows that about 20 to 25% of that salary is needed to hire the next employee. So you can see how you get to this hundreds of billions of dollars of lost productivity and revenue to companies every year. It's pretty staggering and amazing. It's not all bad news. There's some good news here. And the good news here is, we really think, and we have some proof, both from outside research as well as experiences with ourselves and customers like Stitch Fix, that the cloud can help solve this, right? It can really help elevate these frontline workers in terms of their employee experience. They're ready. They, like all of us, and some of them may be in the room, are using the cloud in their day-to-day personal lives. So their usage and their expectation level is there. And if they are more engaged and they are having a more positive experience, that's going to pass on to the customer experience and have that positive impact. On top of that, the cloud can really deliver a higher level of security. And we've seen that in Chrome Enterprise, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And ideally, and we've seen this as well, is can deliver you a more productive solution at a lower cost. So all of these elements are really the positive light that we want to talk a little bit about in terms of the opportunity that you have with your frontline worker segment. For Chrome Enterprise, for those of you that are not aware of it, this really encompasses Chrome browser, Chrome OS, and Chromebooks, as well as the management capabilities that come with this offering. You can see here on the left side of the slide, you have sort of what it brings to the business, so folks that are here in the room managing endpoints or end users, as well as on the right, what benefits it can bring to the users. And I'll walk through each aspect of this as we go through these slides here. First of all, security. I think, those of you who've been on sort of the Chrome journey hopefully know at this point that security is really paramount and probably the first key pillar to any feature or device or functionality that we roll out with Chrome. And it really is the highest bar, both from browser to OS to any Chrome device that's out there. And we have multi-layers of security, and we could definitely take you through reviews, but I think what we can say confidently is that most folks that go through this and look at it from a security standpoint are pretty well pleased. We've put a lot of work into sort of isolating certain, encrypted profiles, management of applications. And the beauty of Chrome is that it does update every 6 weeks. So, and most all of those updates have security capabilities that are added. And those are things that you can either take advantage of or manage and roll those out as time is needed, right? But security is definitely a really high bar and a true differentiator when it comes to Chrome Enterprise. From a licensing standpoint, what you get with the license is a number of things, but just to point out a couple here is you get really policy management across your users and your endpoints. So 200 plus of them. Think of it as if you have a segment of users, so a set of frontline workers that are mobile workers, and you have an application or a set of applications that you want them to have access to, you can push those to those users. You can also blacklist certain applications so they don't have access to those. So it gives you kind of a full breadth of user management in that regard. You also have device management, so that if a device disappears or gets lost, you can essentially disable that device so it is non-operable and causes no harm to your environment. So it gives you the full breadth, and we're constantly updating those policies. We've also, the product team's done a phenomenal job working with a set of our partners that are in this EMM space to open up our APIs so that you can leverage, if you've made investment in any of these providers, you can have that single pane of glass and still manage your devices like you may manage a mobile device or any other device you have in your fleet. So we're trying to really help bridge the gap between what you've purchased in the past, as well as sort of enabling that for the future. And then obviously you get a lot of the common enterprise 24/7 support that you would get with any enterprise offering. Savings is a big piece of this, and a couple slides here to talk through that. Google is a great example. We still are a company that allows ultimate flexibility in terms of what types of operating system and devices you can utilize. We're seeing obviously a high growth in Chrome being a huge segment of that. But you can see some of the comparables here, and I think it's really something that a lot of times customers don't really fathom until they've experienced it, is that one, the setup of the device can be far simpler. So you can see here, it's approximately 33 minutes to set up a Chrome device and close to 2.5 hours for a comparable device with the other platforms. And this is coming from our IT support teams at Google that are supporting tens of thousands of these. Once you have a device out there in the field, then there's the support of that device, and we measure that ticket per 1,000 tickets that are out there, and it's about 19 tickets per 1,000 are Chrome tickets and almost 100 for a comparable Windows device. So we are a great testament of the fact that both the setup and the support of these devices is far lower than we're finding in our environment. And we continue to sort of poll this, and happy to share some of these statistics with you if it'll help in your engagements. This multi-user experience, again, is something that sometimes, candidly, we struggle to explain to companies and the uniqueness of it. And oftentimes when they start to deploy Chrome, sort of the light bulb goes off. But in essence, you can have as many encrypted cloud profiles running on these devices. So much like if you're familiar with education and Chromebooks and 60+% market share in the US here alone, is a big part of that value proposition was kids could jump into a classroom, pull a Chromebook off the shelf, and use that in a secure way. We've taken that to the enterprise as well, so that amongst your frontline workers, many of them may have multiple shifts throughout the course of a day. And so you can have those same set of devices be used by a large magnitude of frontline workers, by the way, for a bunch of different use cases. So it securely knows who you are, what applications you have access to. You then can set it so that it it wipes automatically on logout, or you can set it to timeout and wipe those devices. So all the security components are there. The next frontline worker comes in, can pull that Chromebook off the shelf and do what they need. This is a piece that when I talk to any CIOs, right on down to the IT folks that are managing devices, really believe this is unparalleled, like the slide says, in terms of a differentiated capability. And something that allows you, quite frankly, to deploy less devices out in the field, but serve more users. This again is sort of speaks a bit to the savings here. Dave over at Schnucks, a grocery chain in the Midwest, has been using Chromebooks, and you can see here, quite openly, is saving $1,250 per year on device costs. And you can see on the left-hand side, again, it starts a bit with the hardware and software and initial investment. There's a bit here in terms of employee productivity, so being able to be productive on a day-to-day basis as a component of it. But I think, again, the 75% improvement in terms of IT productivity and savings on what IT is used to is really a big proponent. And I often say, when I chat with CXOs that are out there, they always have more projects than people. So if you can save them time on this, there's plenty of projects for them to pick up outside of managing devices and endpoints, and Chrome can give you that capability. I think from a user standpoint, a lot of these things we've been talking about for years, but I think are good reminders. The fact that a Chromebook can boot up in about 6 seconds is still pretty amazing. A lot of us has been living in that world, so we forget the old world of turn the device on, grab a cup of coffee, come back and be productive. This again is something that is definitely a differentiator and continues to be a big piece of the value proposition. The cloud-based profiles is something I mentioned before, the saved ID time, and then basically, quick access to what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And we're always trying to incorporate things around ML in the background with our partners and with our employees to help make it a more productive experience on a device and something that's unique to allow them to do what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. In terms of form factors, we've made a lot of progress here. I think when I started about 6-7 years ago, we had one OEM and one device that we were deploying across the globe. Now you can see that every major OEM has a set of devices in the marketplace. I think what's pretty exciting too is that it runs the gamut in terms of form factor, from tablet to convertible to desktop to clamshell. And really what's great about it when you think about your segments within your workforce is everything from lower end to medium to really premium devices. And I think we're really excited for the future here because I think we're going to continue to build out that portfolio with our OEM partners. So it gives you sort of the breadth and depth you need to meet the needs of not just your frontline workers, but in the future more and more your information workers as well. G Suite is something here that we definitely wanted to mention. I think many of our Chrome customers started as G Suite customers, which makes a lot of sense. They've evolved and are using the cloud for their main collaboration applications and have really bought in and invested there. And so Chrome is a logical fit, and we continue to work across our teams to figure out ways to bring a unique value in this. At the same time, we have many customers that deploy Chrome browser, then Chrome OS, and then start to think about what applications they could be running in the cloud. So it does go both ways, and I think what we really try to do is bring the best of both worlds here. And a lot of times it's customers who are thinking about this. But I think what we definitely have found is those of you that have invested in G Suite and have not deployed Chromebooks, what it will do is you will get more out of your investment, because you're really pushing people to be cloud enabled, and it'll allow you to get better value out of those investments you've made in the cloud. A couple of examples before I turn things over to Ravi that I think bring this a bit to life. Middlesex Hospital Healthcare is one of our target verticals, has deployed Chromebooks in a number of use cases. I won't go through all elements of the slide, but in essence, they're deploying it for many use cases. As an example, nurses that need ongoing compliance and HR training that are coming in multiple times of the day and multiple shifts can leverage Chromebooks either one-to-one or in a shared environment to get that training. They're using it for EMTs, So think about use cases where every second matters. Same type of thing for EMTs to get the training they need, but also to support their day-to-day business when they're out there working with patients. And at the end of the day, again, it goes back to that customer experience. It's all about how can the patient experience be improved. And if Chrome devices can help from a productivity standpoint, so they can spend more time with their patients, it's a win-win, and they're seeing that in spades, and are always looking for more use cases to add Chrome to. Irvia is a utility company in Ireland, and so you can imagine the use cases here in terms of highly distributed workforce across the country, supporting a bunch of different frontline workers that are out in the field, and Chrome has enabled them both from a grab and go, which hopefully if you haven't seen it here at the conference, there's a series of grab and go booths where you can essentially think of it as loaner devices. They're leveraging these for folks that may have lost a device or just need a device for a couple of hours to do their timekeeping or HR capabilities or any other applications they need to access, as well as what they need out in the field. So again, Chrome is a great enabler here. For applications that are not cloud enabled, they're also leveraging VDI. So we've made a lot of efforts over the years to make sure if you don't have those applications in the cloud yet, or maybe they're not Android applications because those are compatible with Chrome as well, VDI is a bridge that'll help you get theirs as well. A couple more. Mercado Libre, Latin American company in Mexico, actually, that's leveraging Chromebooks for contact centers, right? So I think we really think of contact centers as a great frontline worker segment. We're seeing more and more like Mercado where this is a outsourced function, one that has a lot of remote requirements, and oftentimes IT does not have the bandwidth to support these growing customer service and contact agents. And I think Mercado is a great case of where they've now have contact center agents that, again, can be up and running within 6 to 10 seconds, can really meet the needs of their customer. So in essence, they're happier, so their customers are happier. So again, a great use case, and is one where we have a number of companies that are utilizing it, this, and it's sort of come to our attention. Many of them were doing it without us even knowing. They just stumbled on the use case. And I think as more and more contact center applications move to the cloud, this is an outstanding use case to start with in any organization. And then the last one before I turn things over is Charles Schwab. They've been a customer a couple of years now. It is a financial services company, of course, but it's think of it as very much a retail frontline worker use case in that they've deployed Chromebooks across all of their branches. And really, like many of these wealth management companies, their goal is to really empower their customers to utilize the investment they made in online applications, both for financial planning, portfolio planning, and the like. And so they've deployed Chrome devices so that anyone who comes into the branch can either work with a representative on their wealth planning, but ideally that representative turns a Chromebook around and says, help yourself here. This is where you log in. This is how you can utilize that so that they can become much more self-sufficient. So hopefully you can think of many use cases within your organization that are similar to that, which have that element of helping from a customer satisfaction standpoint, but also helping them serve themselves by utilizing their device as well. So those are a few use cases. Again, I just touched on sort of the high-level pieces. Obviously, we'll take some questions here at the end, but I think I'm really excited to bring Ravi up here who can speak a little bit in depth on what they're doing at Stitch Fix. So if you could please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ravindra. I'm the head of IT at Stitch Fix. I've been with Stitch Fix a little over 3.5 years, and we are, I would say, a cloud-native company. That kind of puts us in a very positive situation when you start looking at Chrome devices. So we are a G Suite customer, but our specific use case here is in our warehouse operations. I think for us, at Stitch Fix, we fulfill products. So how many of you here in the audience are customers of Stitch Fix or heard of Stitch Fix? Raise of hands. The rest of you, sign up. So part of, just to give you a little bit of a snippet of how the Stitch Fix business model works, is that as you complete your profile, we have a product that's already in our warehouses that we algorithmically pick and then present it to a remote stylist. Stylist takes that system recommendations, algorithm recommendations, and then picks the best product suitable for you. And then at that point is where the handoff happens to our warehouse associates in our warehouses. We have 5 warehouses currently in Stitch Fix that we fulfill product in the US. We are expanding into UK in this calendar year. I think we started with the women's business, launched the men's, and now we are doing kids. So I have no excuse not to sign up. So the touch point from a warehouse associate standpoint, it is not so much about the Chrome, the G Suite applications. It's more the applications that we built in-house for our product fulfillment. So think of it as like a product, like when you pick a product in the warehouse. So that is the use case that we're using. So we have, as I said, we have 5 different warehouses. We have workers that sign into the applications that they need to interact with through a barcode scanner. So what you can see in this image is a Chrome device attached to a symbol barcode scanner and attached to a cart. So the cart is where we pick the product. So we authenticate through their badge to put them into the profile that they need to be. And then from there, they have the set of applications that they're authorized to access. So all of our applications that we use through the Chrome device are browser-based applications. There's no client involved. For us, Chrome made a lot of sense to put that on the front line. So for us, it is not only the cost effectiveness, I think the ability to have those applications easily accessible. So once you're authenticated, you know the apps that you need to use, and they would essentially push this cart around the warehouse to pick a product. So it made it more compelling for us to use, because I think the battery life, the cost of the devices, all of those factored in as we looked at these devices, and it made the process that much more easier. So just to give you a little bit of history about when these Chrome devices came into play, it was not something that was provisioned by IT. IT had no involvement in it. It's the operations and the warehouse operations that were procuring these devices. So we have over 2,500 devices in our portfolio. And those are now in the past year, as we brought on Chrome Enterprise device management, now IT is now taking over it, so that we are managing the endpoint, we are managing the plugins, and so on. So it made a lot of sense for us to use Chrome devices, and we not only use it in the warehouse, but we also, when workers change shifts, it just makes that interaction that much more easier. So the employee experience there is consistent, and they move from work case, like one location to another location. They don't take the Chrome device with them. They leave the card there, go to the next place, sign out here, sign back in, and then they continue the work. So, and the add-on value for us was, as we looked at, because we are a G Suite customer, we have data that we capture through the G Suite application. So like either in a Google Sheets or a Google Docs, where the workers that are in the facility picking product, if there's some QA issue, whatever, they would go on to toggle over to the Google Sheets and then make notes in there so that their supervisors can interact with it. So they're not only using it for picking product, it also works as a collaborative device. So we've standardized on the Chrome browser at Stitch Fix. So it's pretty much everybody that interacts with our applications, both internal or our public cloud applications, we are using Chrome as a standard device. As I shared earlier, the Stitch Fix employee population consists of like the information or knowledge workers, our customer service, warehouse associates, and then we have our remote stylists that are working on their own devices, but they're working remote from that work from home. For us, standardizing on a single browser made a lot of sense, and so we've optimized our applications to work well with Chrome. Our current use cases for us, as I shared earlier, is using Chromebooks in our warehouse workers, and we are also evaluating Pixelbooks as an option for our knowledge workers. So interestingly, one of our C-level executives who came on board recently, she challenged us, say like, hey, how come you guys are provisioning Windows and Mac devices, why not Chrome devices? Because she had her own Chromebook, she was used to it in the past, and it just made sense for us to kind of explore that. So we are now exploring Pixelbook as an option as an alternate, because everything is in the cloud, and they don't have a lot of compute needs, and that made it that much more compelling for us to put that in there. So now that is slowly part of our portfolio. And we are also currently evaluating about standardizing on Chromebooks for the stylists who are currently on a BYOD, because we don't have enough visibility to that endpoint health, and that's from a security perspective is a bit challenging. So we are exploring about potentially making a Chrome device available if the device that the remote stylus has today is not compliant or it's not up to speed, up to date. So there's another extension for. So we started with just the browser, the warehouse workers. Now looking at other use cases as well. I think one of the things, as I know, as customer service, customer experience, important for the organization. For us, employee experience also is critical, because these workers who are interacting on the Chrome browser, especially at the warehouse. We've set up kiosk devices where people can log in and deal with their email or any of the employee communication. So it has also helped us kind of make that consistent message across when they're on the shop floor versus when they're in the office space, when they need to attend to HR or personal issues. And for us, it has been, I think, that the collaboration capability is tremendous. It just really helps us keep up to date. And so far, we have no reported security incidents, so that's actually comforting for us. I can sleep well. All right, Mike, back to you. I think we have plenty of time.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Ravi. That was super. And I think it's always great to have a customer sort of bring it to life. And as you can tell from Ravi's experience, and a lot of it's a testament to his leadership, is that the use cases have grown, not just within the frontline segment, but also the C-suite, and really asking the questions around why not move to Chrome, why not move things more to the cloud, just given both the customer experience as well as the IT savings that's associated with that.